While the US focuses on its economic battle with China, Canada is playing a long game, and it's bolder than you think. Trump is planning to slap a sweeping 35% tariff on nearly every Canadian export not protected by the USMCA, starting August 1st. Steel and aluminum, already hit with a brutal 50% tariff. Auto parts, if they don't meet origin rules, they're next. Oil, gas, lumber, chemicals, if it's not exempt, it's on the list. Canada isn't just sitting back. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced a $5 billion Canadian relief fund, $1.5 billion just for agriculture and forestry. Because if the US chokes the flow of goods, Canada's farms, factories, and freight systems could seize up. The support plan is all about survival and pivoting to new partners, Japan, Korea, the EU. The Bank of Canada says without help, GDP could fall by 1%. But with this package, the C.D. Howe Institute says the damage could be capped at just 0.2%. Since last May, Canadian exports to the US dropped from 78% to 68%, a loss of nearly $9 billion. Ouch. Autos alone, exports dropped 23%. And the whole sector shrank by 17% in just 1 month. But Canada's fighting back hard. They're racing to seal trade deals with countries like Indonesia and Ecuador. And they're tightening ties with the EU. That June deal in Brussels, historic. It gives Canada a direct line into Europe's €150 billion defense fund and deeper military and cybersecurity ties. And at home, big changes too. Canada passed Bill C-5, the One Canadian Economy Act. It slashes red tape, boosts labor mobility, and fast-tracks massive infrastructure projects. Think pipelines, carbon capture, and mining, now approved in 2 years instead of 5. Freeland says this alone could boost GDP per capita by 4%. Canadian banks are also on the move. RBC, TD, Scotiabank, they're expanding in Asia and Europe, building payment systems that don't depend on the US dollar. Why? To protect themselves from American monetary shocks and give exporters stable alternatives. This is more than defense, it's reinvention. Canada's turning away from old dependencies and building a new trade map. Meanwhile, Trump's going full throttle. In February, he hit Canadian imports with 25% tariffs, 10% on energy. He cited a national emergency over fentanyl and immigration. By July 11th, he went all in, announcing 35% tariffs across the board, effective August 1st. The US says it's about pressure. But let's talk reality. Over 1.7 million US jobs rely on trade with Canada. These tariffs, they won't just raise prices. They could collapse jobs in agriculture, manufacturing, and auto. Imagine your phone costing $200 more. Your groceries, 15% higher. That's the everyday cost of tariffs. Corn, soy, beef, basic food staples could jump in price, with ripple effects across every aisle of your local grocery store. Canada sends 1 million cars to the US annually. Tariffs could jack up prices by $3,000 to $5,000 per vehicle. Families might skip buying new cars altogether, pushing demand for used cars, and spiking those prices too. As prices rise, businesses lose customers. When businesses lose customers, they cut jobs. It's a vicious cycle. Peterson Institute says the US could lose up to $100 billion and 0.5% of GDP if these tariffs stick around for 2 years. Even retirement security is at stake. Half of US workers over 60 don't have enough saved. These tariffs, they'll squeeze them harder. Then came Trump's copper bombshell, a 50% tariff starting August 1st. Canada, one of the world's top copper producers, gets caught in the crossfire. But Canada mostly exports copper to Asia. It's American buyers who'll feel the burn, higher costs for cars, TVs, wiring, and electronics. The auto industry could see car prices rise by another $1,000. Phones and laptops, $30 more. Even homes will cost more due to copper-based construction wiring. Up to 30,000 US copper workers could lose their jobs, hitting states like Arizona and Montana hardest. In the end, Canada might take a hit, but America could bleed more. Why? Because consumers always foot the bill. Trump warned of tariffs up to 100% on Canadian cars. Canada didn't cave, and he followed through. Now, car makers like Ford and Stellantis are hurting. Stellantis lost $5 billion in one quarter. Ford's projecting a $5.5 billion loss in EV and software for 2025. Canada exports 91% of its steel to the US. A 50% tariff has already wiped out 1,000 steel jobs. Towns built on industry are falling apart. And US consumers? They're paying an extra $1,300 per year, just to afford cars and basic goods. Instead of reviving US manufacturing, tariffs are isolating it. Supply chains are unraveling. Trust between countries is fading. Even big tech is feeling it. Microsoft just laid off 9,000 workers, its third major cut this year. That's on top of layoffs in January, May, and June. Perfect Dark. Cancelled. Studios shut down. And while Microsoft made record profits, workers are feeling less secure than ever. With high interest rates, high costs, and job losses, Americans are pulling back on big purchases, cars, homes, even groceries. Job cuts aren't just a headline. They're a warning. From Silicon Valley to the Rust Belt, this economic storm is spreading. The US-Canada trade war isn't just politics. It's about your wallet, your job, your future. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button, share it with a friend, and make sure to subscribe to the Untold Compass for more deep dives on global power moves. See you next time.